why the universe exists. We're talking about why anything exists at all. And since physical reality as a whole is finite, physical processes simply cannot explain the origin of everything, because science really only deals with physical processes, observable processes. It only deals with event causation. It cannot deal with things like metaphysics, which is what we're doing here. Then you say morality can exist without God. And you say that morality is just a recognition that something is good for society. But you never really give it a defense of how we can say that one person's definition of good is better than anyone else's definition of good. If what is good is dependent on humans, then I can just brush that aside, because I could have a different opinion and there would be no way of telling me that my opinion was wrong. And this is a very serious problem, because our moral sense tells us that things are right or wrong regardless of what anyone thinks. Now, you might try to approach this with utilitarianism and say that, well, it's just the recognition that that one option causes more suffering than the other, and the one that causes less suffering is good for society. But the problem is, it does not follow that we ought to do what creates less suffering, because how much suffering something causes is descriptive, but morality is prescriptive. Finally, I'm sorry, not finally. 2 points. Sorry. You in response to my claim that messianic movements always died off after the death of their leader, you cite this modern messianic movement that Prof. MTH brought up, where some guy died in 1994, and people still think that he's the Messiah. I should point out that we're talking about 2,000 years ago, and it's very, very important to understand the context of Second Temple Judaism, because when we're talking about Jesus, we're talking about Second Temple Judaism. Finally, you accuse my argument of circular reasoning because I am citing the Bible. However, this is not how I'm using the Bible. I'm not using the Bible on the assumption that it is reliable to prove that Jesus resurrected. I'm using the Bible like we would use any other historical document. We sift through the documents and we pick apart where the places where we would find valuable historical information, and we can know with pretty reasonable certainty that this information from 1 Corinthians 15:3-8 is very early. It's rooted in eyewitness testimony, and therefore we can conclude that it is reliable when it says that there were appearances of Jesus.
Try to finish it up.
All right, I'm very close to being done. Because it's rooted in eyewitness testimony, we can know that it is reliable when it says that there was a physical resurrection, that there were appearances of Christ. Thank you very much. That is my rebuttal speech.
Honest discussioner, do you require 3 minutes to prepare a rebuttal speech to MigKiller's introduction? As well, I'm not familiar with this, but I'm not sure whether or not Honest Discussioner is rebutting to what MigKiller just said, or just to his opening arguments. If one of you two can just clarify that for me.
As far as I understand it, our time is our own, and we can do with it what we please. If either I or MigKiller would like to teach everyone how to salsa dance during our rebuttal, or anything, then we're more than welcome to, though I really wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that would make any decent points.
No, I'm just saying that MigKiller2 received a few minutes just to prepare a counter-argument to what you had to say. And he was I was at that time. I'm just saying, would you... Do you need a few minutes?
I will require a short amount of time. Damn lag. Sorry, Wildcard. I apologize. I will require just a short time. I was responding to your question of whether or not I'm responding just to Mig's rebuttal or the arguments in general. I'm saying that during the rules of the debate, I don't know if we particularly established it, but since we didn't particularly establish it, I'd have to say that our time is our own and we can do with it the actual debate time. We can talk about any point made, or even something that no one made. So I'll begin in a few short moments. Okay, if everyone's ready, I will begin. Mig, are you listening? Wildcard, you ready to start the clock? I'll begin as soon as you're ready.
Yeah, I'm good to go. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you, Mig, for your responses there. Your first quick point was that you could disprove God if you showed a contradiction. That might be true of a specific God, the Christian God, but the general definition of God is quite malleable, so I don't think you could really apply a definition to anything because there are different definitions of God. This really isn't a point of contention for the debate. It doesn't really help either of our arguments in any way. So I would like to say that you responded to my claim against the teleological argument. I wanted to cover that just in case it came up at some point. That the probability of a life-giving universe is just as probable as any other probability, any other special feature of the universe. And it's true that this universe, as the conditions after the Big Bang, were probably very unlikely, but I don't know if we can really understand through science what all of the different possible variations of those conditions were and what their implications would be. Sure, some tweaking a little thing might have caused a collapse, but we can't say of the infinitely, I don't want to say infinite, but the vast number of different probabilities that some of them might have even been better than the universe today by our own standards. Also, I want to mention that there are plenty of things that we think are designed, but it turns out not to be designed. You might look at it in our head and say there's no naturalistic way for it to come about. That doesn't mean that there isn't. There have been underwater islands, as far as I know. I can't really cite any sources right now, but I'll just use it as a general example. That there have been underwater structures that people have seen and said this must be some underwater temple, until they actually looked at it and discovered